you'd like to take this one? First, that was cheerful. I was here at 7:30 when Nell was preaching, and she started by saying, this is one of those days where it's not easy doing PR for God. Then at 9 o'clock, we had the children's talk, and Kelly talked a bit about this story. She left some bits out. And asked the children, what do you do if you invite somebody to come to your party and they don't come? The children said, well, you send them another invite, you make it nicer, or you go and talk to them and say, why didn't you come to my party? It wasn't very nice. She left out the fact that you might send your armies to destroy them and burn their cities. We didn't think that the children were quite ready for that yet. This is a complicated text. I actually want to talk about the last bit first. Often in sermons, I will unwind the story for a little bit, and then there'll be like, you'll drop in a narrative fact at the end that like turns the whole thing on its head. I'm just going to tell you that bit right now. Is that okay? I'm going to do my sermon in reverse. So the wedding garment. What's going on with the wedding garment that the guy wasn't wearing and he got kicked out and sent out where there was weeping and gnashing of teeth? There was a stack of wedding garments by the door as you were coming in and they were being handed out. Guests to the house were given a wedding garment if they didn't have one themselves. That was a factor in ancient Near Eastern hospitality. You wouldn't expect one of your guests to necessarily have the right clothes, so you provide them. You know, like at those fancy restaurants or those fancy clubs where you go in and they require a tie or a jacket, and you don't have a tie or a jacket, they probably have a stack of them in the front desk and they'll give them to you. They'll give you the tie and the jacket so that you fit with the dress code. So the question is, with that going on, why did the guy wind up not having a wedding garment inside? And it's probably because he rejected the hospitality of his host. Does that make sense? We'll come back to that. But I want to say there's a lot of violence in today's parable, isn't there? It's a lot to take. And I want to say something about parables, which I hope will make sense of it. This parable is not a prescription. It does not say at the end of the parable, go and do likewise. This parable is more like a mirror. Jesus is holding up a mirror to the people he's speaking to. And Matthew is holding up a mirror to the community that he's composed this gospel for. And in the community that Matthew was speaking to, they were facing a lot of violence. There was a lot of violence around them, and there was a lot of violence in their hearts. So in some of Matthew's parables, he's holding up a mirror and saying, look at yourselves. Do you see what's in your hearts? You know, we're really polite, lovely Episcopalians. We sit here very demurely and politely, and we know how to behave in company. There is no violence in our hearts, is there? We are well behaved and we're great. But I do have to say, as I look at this gospel parable this morning, I am just reminded of the violence that is around us in the world today. I want to take down the veil and say there is violence out there, particularly in Israel and Palestine. And there is violence in my heart. I behave well, I've got a poker face, I won't show you. But I know it's there. The reason why Jesus talks about it in the parables, and Matthew records it in the parables, is so that we will look at it and face it in order to change it. And I'm really thinking about the violence that exists in our world today, and I've been praying about it all week, and I don't quite know what to say. But my best effort is to say that the horrific violence last week that Hamas carried out against Israeli people was designed to ignore the humanity of those people, to extinguish the divine image in them. It it was full of hate. And I understand why the Israeli government wants to defend themselves. And I appreciate people who are speaking up for defending innocence and making sure that we don't equate Hamas with Palestine. It's a complex situation that I don't fully grasp and understand. Those are my thoughts at the moment. What I am doing is praying and looking in the mirror at myself and asking, where do I extinguish the image of God in the people around me? Where do I ignore the divine image in the people that I am talking to? Where do I have tendencies to become violent in my heart? How can I face that down and change it in me, whilst praying for the people of Israel and Palestine, and praying that we might find a just peace? You know, there are some hints in the text at how we can learn to let go of the violence and treat one another with respect. We go back to that first invitation to the party. The king's invited him to his home. It's going to be an amazing, extraordinary party, and he goes and invites all of the well-to-do people, the business people of the town. And one of them says, oh no, I'm too busy, I've got to go to my farm. No, I'm too busy, I've got to go visit my family. They make all kinds of excuses. Perhaps they feel like they're too good for the party. Perhaps they feel really entitled. I don't need to respond to the hospitality of the king at this wedding banquet. It's beneath me. So I'm going to skip over the violent part for the moment because we talked about that, and just go to the invitation to everybody, which I find fascinating. The king sends out an invitation to anybody and everybody from all the streets, from all of the back alleys, from anywhere. A group of people that don't feel entitled, that they don't feel like they deserve to be there, so much so that they can't be bothered to turn up. A group of people that are being invited as a gift, a real sense of hospitality. And they come along and they're welcomed into the king's banquet, and they get to celebrate and recognize that they might not deserve to be there, but everything that they're being given is a gift, including the clothes. Because that's the thing that feels really super unfair about the story. If somebody has been invited from the back streets, how are they going to have a wedding garment to show up in? Well, in the ancient Near East, they didn't need to spell this out because it was so well known that everybody would kind of understand it, but our culture is different. We go buy our clothes for our wedding, and we don't imagine that we'll be given a clothes at the door. But in this context, they would have been. It'd been a rack. If you didn't have a wedding garment, it would have been given to you, and therefore everything is a gift. And everybody looks the same because everybody is going to be seen as the same, equally respected and equally loved. So that we come to that sting in the towel where the person is not wearing a wedding garment. When the master of the house says, how did you get in here without a wedding garment? The rest of the sentence could have been, because they were giving them out at the door. You must have walked past it and said no. So why did you say no to the wedding garment? It's my gift to you. It's my hospitality. And I don't know if this is true, because the text doesn't say this, but I wonder if one of those earlier invitees had suddenly changed their mind, realized that they could leave their farm behind, and they wanted to go to the wedding now. And then they turned up at the wedding, and they looked at the crowd, and they say, who's this riffraff? I don't want to be like one of them. My clothes are different and fine. I'm going to stand out. I'm not going to become one of that crowd. I would like to seem elevated and better than them. So I'll wear my own clothes. The text does not say that. That's my imagination. But it's something I like to wonder about. What the person not wearing a wedding garment is saying, though, is that I'm not receiving the hospitality. I'm not receiving this moment as a gift. I am not recognizing myself to be equally respected with all of these other people in this room. I'm better than them. And then it gets kind of harsh here at the end. So what do I learn from this text? I can have a tendency to see myself as privileged. I am a person of means, and we all are. Did I earn that? Is it all just down to me? Or does everything actually flow from the original gift of life that I was given by the divine? And when I see myself as better than others, I'm obviously seeing them as worse than I am. I'm making a differentiation between us. I'm not seeing them with equal respect. Am I being invited in this parable to see everybody as equally bearing the image of God? Am I seeing the full humanity of everyone? Violence happens when we dehumanize others and we think it's okay to inflict violence on them because they're less than we are. Nobody is less than you are. Nobody. The story is telling us that all of our lives are a gift. All of our lives are given us by God, and all of us deserve equal respect. I like to go for walks with my dog and river, and often my mind is so full of stuff when I start the walk. It's like churning. What have I got to do today? What are all the things that are going on? There's this stressful thing, there's that stressful thing. I'm so important because I've got to solve that problem, and I've got to get my head around this thing. And my mind is unquiet, and I'm wrestling with my place in the world. And invariably when I'm walking, a moment will occur, or I hear a bird song, or I see some sunlight breaking through some branches and dappling the ground in sun, or I'll smell some fresh mown grass, and I'll stop, and I'll find myself breathing a little deeper, and letting go of all of the things that make me feel super important. And realize that this morning has been given to me as a gift. That it's free, that it's beautiful, that it's wonderful, that I'm less important than I think I am, and I should just enjoy it. And it's in that point that I realize that I am a beloved child of a loving God. It's also at that point that I can become generous and open. I think I'm going to leave it there. Amen.